Is this worth it?
Absolutely. If forget the thousands of students that we served, let's stay focused on the one young man I told you about. His life is priceless. So if all of this was just for him, then it is absolutely worth it, and it is absolutely fulfilling.
Okay, let's say this one student's taken care of. He's on his way to a new level of success. Does this impact the volunteers? Has this changed you in any way?
It's definitely changed me. I had spent 18 years in the media as an executive vice president, chief operating officer for, been in national television, cable television, radio, as well as print, magazine industry. I was tired of coming home and giving commencement speeches as the local boy who's come home and done well. I felt like I was just talking. But I believe that I have an uncle who's a state senator here who was known for a late uncle who's known for his contributions to the community. And he told me I owed a debt of gratitude to the people that paved the way. I firmly believe that through my experience and my opportunity to serve out the principles of servanthood and servant leadership, that this experience at communities and schools has changed my life. I served also in a capacity in ministry as an associate pastor. What I will tell you is that when you actually get outside of the four walls of the church and you begin to actually apply the principles that we hold near and dear in our faith, and you begin to see lives impacted, to me that is truly kingdom work.
I hear it coming.
And to see kingdom work at actually live and transformative, the reward then comes from my Father in heaven. And so the bottom line is that I feel fulfilled because I've been able to carry out my portion of my assignment.
Okay, but you know, a lot of the people who are going to watch this video, it's understood that this is also for people who are doing nonprofits. They don't have to have faith in God.
Sure.
This doesn't have to be faith-based. Not that they would be against it, anything what you're saying, but what can you say to them? Do the kids in the school, how about the staff, you talk about staff getting beaten down. I mean, they can get the really raw end of the deal. I don't mean that anyone is mistreating them. I just mean it's a tough job, Travis.
Well, let's establish a couple of things. Number one is you don't have to be a person of faith to want to see your community, your city, your state, and your nation a better place. But it starts with you making a commitment driven by something that is not selfish, something that is based on the greater good of your fellow man. So what I would hope is that people who would watch this, people who would see our story, would understand that we truly can make America one of the greatest places to live for generations to follow if we would simply take a look at our neighbor and want to see our neighbor do better than maybe ourselves.
I'd like to say something again on his behalf, because there are people who are not necessarily people of faith, and that's okay. We're both pastors. He's been a business executive. I run a business too. Our faith, we're not apologetic that we're men of faith, but we understand the venues and environments we come into, and we hope we're demonstrating our faith, not trying to be a Sunday morning preacher in a classroom. I want this boy to read. I want this kid to get excited about staying on a football team by keeping his grades up or whatever. And we can help educators educate. We can help other nonprofits or good cause, the homeless find housing. We don't have to make it a theological position. Theology may be informing our motivation, but we can welcome people of business, people of faith who just care that this homeless person or this uneducated person or whatever happens. And I think he models that well, so he can talk to businessmen like a businessman. He can talk to pastors like a pastor. He can talk to a neighbor. He can talk to an educator. And I think mature people of faith need to learn that skill, and he models that, I think, very well for us and his organization.
The question becomes, why does this matter? Why is this fulfilling? I truly believe that in order for us to keep America strong and vibrant, that we have got to take a look at developing all of our resources,
Amen.
All of our precious resources. The greatness that is inside of all of our children has to be harvested. It has to be produced. We can ill afford to leave any of our children behind. So America's future rests in the hands of our future leaders. And if we don't cultivate them, if we don't develop them, then we are losing our competitive advantage globally. This is why the work that we do is so vitally important. So every time I get a chance to work with a student to fulfill his or her potential, that could be the next president of the United States. That could be the next CEO. That could be the next pastor. That could be the next great teacher that our country needs in order to remain
viable. Travis, it could be the next daddy that sticks around home.
Absolutely. Next great parent, the next great father, the next great mother.
Would you please tell these people and us principles to use in an organization to keep your staff moving in the direction that you have scoped out?
I believe in the principle of servant leadership, and I define it as whenever you have the opportunity to be a credit maker as opposed to a credit taker. Use your gifts, talents, and abilities for your team, support them behind the scenes, and empower them to success. I think leadership is defined as whenever you have the opportunity to influence the thinking of someone else. If you use that opportunity for your own benefit, then that is manipulative leadership. If you use that opportunity of influence for their benefit, it builds trust and intimacy. If it's for their benefit, then they can impact more people in a positive manner. If I could boil it down to one principle, it would be that of servant leadership. If you serve and you exemplify how to follow, other people will follow you.
Let me give you a little quiz. What is servant leadership?
Using the opportunity to influence others for their benefit.
Man, that's all good stuff to me. I mean, the reason I wanted Travis to capture this story is we're all busy. There's lots of stuff going on, but there are many stories like Travis's, and I wanted this audience tonight to hear 3 of them. And we're going to give opportunity for someone like Travis and some of the other folks to meet with young leaders who say, man, I like that guy. I want to be like that. And I'm simply bringing them into a room to meet each other and trying to give them an excuse to change cards, because he said it before, none of us get to where we are alone. Almost everything I've succeeded at, I can't take credit for because of the choir of people behind me pushing me towards success. We want to do that for a rising generation of leaders in our city and in this room tonight.
Travis, say anything else that you would like them to know. Maybe a secret. Maybe something most people don't know, either about the kids out there or adults or you or your organization.
One of the reasons why I have no problem understanding that or a debt of gratitude to this community is when I was a senior in high school. I was a basketball player and an honor student. And I understand that sometimes when the pressures of life get to you, we didn't do as well my senior year as I thought we would. I dropped down on the recruiting trail, and my grades began to suffer. I was an honor student. I was captain of the basketball team. I was a leader. But the reason why I always believe in extending grace and extending a hand up is because my teachers, my administrators, my mother, my parents, saw me sinking and reached out to me to pull me up out of the abyss, out of the pit of darkness. And it was only by them showing me who I could be that I was able to snap out of it and realize that the next day, that today was a new day. Because of that love that I felt at my least is why I always think about serving those who are in need. Because if you've ever been to a place where you've been knocked down, all you need is somebody to encourage you to get up, and you can do the rest.
What would you give somebody, like 30 days to respond, or could it be several years?
I think people will respond to the message of encouragement immediately. Sometimes you can't see when a seed of encouragement or joy or hope is planted in the ground. You can't see what's happening underneath. But you know that those roots are growing deep. And if a person just lends a listening ear, then the rest they will do because they've been empowered by the hope that you've planted.